My girlfriend said. So what? What are you gonna do, break up with me? After I caught her chatting with her ex. We were in her apartment. I'd arrived earlier than we'd agreed with flowers and a bottle of wine to celebrate our 3-year anniversary. I found her on the couch with her phone glued to her chest, her eyes wide when she saw me come in with my key. She didn't greet me with a kiss. She greeted me with poorly disguised panic. Diego, what are you doing here so early? She said, standing up quickly. The phone now hidden behind her back as if I were an idiot and couldn't see her clumsy movements. You were supposed to arrive at 8. I left work early, I answered, leaving the flowers on the dining table. I wanted to surprise you for our anniversary. Natalia swallowed hard. 3 years together, and I'd never seen her so nervous. Her gaze dodged mine while her fingers gripped the phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. Who were you talking to? I asked calmly, though my heart was already starting to beat faster. I knew that look. It was the same one I'd seen months ago when I asked her why she'd deleted messages from her phone. No one important, she said too quickly. A friend. Natalia, give me the phone. Don't be ridiculous, Diego. I'm not giving you my phone just because you're paranoid. Her voice rose, defensive, aggressive. Even it's always been like this, always distrusting me. I approached her slowly. I wasn't angry yet. I just needed to confirm what my gut was already screaming at me. If you have nothing to hide, show me. No. She moved back, putting the couch between us. This is an invasion of privacy. Just because we're a couple doesn't mean you can go through my things. 3 years, Natalia. 3 years together, and I'd never asked for your phone until now. Give me a reason to trust you right now. Something changed in her expression. The guilt that had momentarily crossed her face transformed into defiance. She lifted her chin and looked me straight in the eye. Fine. You want to know who I was talking to? With Sebastian. The name landed like a bomb between us. Sebastian, her ex-boyfriend, the same one who she'd said was a toxic mistake from her past, the one she'd supposedly blocked from everywhere 2 years ago. Your ex, I said. And it wasn't a question. Yes, my ex. So what? Her tone became challenging, almost mocking. We're friends. I have the right to talk to whoever I want, friends. I repeated, feeling the betrayal start to settle in my chest like a dead weight. Natalia, you told me you'd blocked him. You swore to me you wanted nothing to do with him. People change, Diego. We mature. Sebastian and I were able to resolve our differences like adults. She crossed her arms, her phone now visible in her hand. The screen lit up with notifications that kept coming. Not everything has to be a drama. How long have you been talking? She hesitated for a second before answering. A few months. The word came out louder than I intended. You've been talking to your ex for months, and you didn't tell me anything because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Being possessive, jealous, controlling. Every word was an accusation, as if I were the villain in this situation. This is why I didn't tell you, because I can't have a single second of privacy without you getting paranoid. I stared at her, trying to process not only the emotional infidelity I'd just discovered, but the way she was twisting everything to make me feel guilty. Show me the conversations, I said in a calm voice. Though inside I felt something breaking. If you're just friends, there'll be no problem with me seeing them. Natalia laughed. A short, dry laugh, full of disdain. I'm not showing you anything. I don't have to give you explanations for my friendships. Friendships. I pointed to her phone that wouldn't stop vibrating. Do friends text this often on our anniversary? Do friends make you hide your phone when I arrive? You're exaggerating everything as always. Then prove to me that I'm exaggerating. Give me the phone for 5 seconds. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. I could see the exact moment she made her decision. Her eyes hardened. Her posture became more defiant. No, she said finally. And if you don't like it, if you don't trust me, the door's right there. No one's forcing you to stay. Those words were like a slap in the face. After 3 years together, after supporting her when she lost her job, after lending her money for her master's degree that she still hadn't paid back, after canceling trips with my friends to be with her when she felt depressed, this was her response to my one request for transparency. Are you serious? I asked in disbelief. Are you asking me to leave? I'm telling you that if you're going to be this paranoid and insecure, maybe this relationship isn't for you. She flipped her hair back with a gesture I'd seen 1,000 times, the one she used when she wanted to seem indifferent. We can't all be perfect like you pretend to be, Diego. Something inside me clicked. It wasn't anger yet. It was something colder, more definitive. I was really seeing her for the first time in a long time. I saw the woman living in an apartment whose rent I paid half of because she was short on money. I saw the woman who used the car I'd helped her buy because hers had broken down. I saw the woman who in 3 years had never organized a surprise for me, but constantly expected grand gestures from me. "Give me your phone, Natalia," I said one last time, my voice completely calm. "Now no." She clung to the device with both hands. "And if you keep insisting, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're ruining our anniversary with your insecurities." I was ruining the anniversary. Not her, who'd been chatting with her ex. Not her, who refused to give the slightest explanation. Me. "You know what, Natalia?" I said, picking up the flowers I'd brought. "You're right." For a moment, I saw confusion on her face. She clearly expected more of a fight, more pleading, more drama. "You're right that I can't force you to show me your phone," I continued. "And you're right that if I don't trust you, it makes no sense for me to be here." "Exactly." Her expression relaxed, believing she'd won. "I'm glad you finally understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." I took out my own phone and opened my banking app. "I understand that you've been talking to Sebastian behind my back for months. I understand that when I ask for transparency, you attack me and make me feel guilty. And I understand exactly what kind of consequences this type of betrayal has." "What are you doing?" she asked when she saw me start to tap my screen. "Canceling the automatic transfer of $700 a month I send you for rent." I tapped confirm. "It's done. I hope Sebastian can help you with that." Her face went pale. "Diego, wait, you can't. I'm also going to cancel the additional credit card I gave you." Another couple of taps. "And the car insurance that's in my name is going to need you to bring the vehicle back tomorrow because I'm canceling it too. You're overreacting." Her voice had lost all its previous arrogance. "You know what else I understand?" I looked her straight in the eye. "That my name is on the lease for this place as a guarantor, so I'm going to talk to the landlord tomorrow to have myself removed." "You can't do that." There was real panic in her voice now. "Diego, stop your being irrational." "Irrational? 2 minutes ago you told me the door was there if I didn't like how things were." "I'm just taking your advice." I put my phone away. "Oh, and the keys to this apartment that I have, I'm going to leave them here." I put my set of keys on the dining table next to the flowers that no one was going to enjoy now. "Diego, wait. Can we talk about this?" She took a step towards me. Her phone finally lowered, forgotten in her hand. "Talk like when you talked to me before reconnecting with your ex. Like when you talked to me about what you were feeling before hiding it for months." I shook my head. "No, Natalia, the time for talking is over. Please, you're misinterpreting everything." Her voice rose, bordering on hysteria. "Sebastian and I are just friends. I swear." "Then show me the phone." Her mouth opened and closed several times without a sound. She looked at her phone, then at me, then back at the phone. The answer was clear in her silence. "I thought so," I said, heading for the door. "Diego, you can't leave me like this. I have no way to pay the rent alone. The car is in your name. You can't just leave." I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. For 3 years I'd been the understanding Diego. Diego who was always there. Diego who solved problems. And in a single moment, faced with a simple test of trust, I'd seen who Natalia really was. "So what? What are you going to do? Break up with me?" Her own words echoed in my head. The arrogance with which she'd said them minutes before. I turned to look at her one last time. She was standing in the middle of the living room, the phone still in her hand, tears starting to fall down her cheeks. But they weren't tears of remorse for hurting me. They were tears of panic because she'd just lost her financial safety net. "Have a happy anniversary, Natalia," I said, opening the door. "I hope Sebastian helps you with the bills." "You can't do this to me," she yelled, following me into the hallway. 3 years together, and you're going to abandon me over something stupid. You're a selfish bastard." Several neighbors had already come out to see what the commotion was about. I looked at her one last time. "I didn't abandon you for something stupid. I abandoned you because when I asked for the only thing that matters in a relationship, trust, you spat in my face. The rest is just consequences." I went down the building's stairs with her screams echoing behind me. "Diego, Diego, come back here. You can't leave me like this. You'll regret this. Sebastian is a better man than you anyway." That last sentence made me smile bitterly as I reached my car. So Sebastian was a better man. Perfect. Let Sebastian pay her rent. Then I started the engine and drove away from that building, from that relationship, from that humiliation. My phone started vibrating with messages and calls from Natalia, but I didn't answer them. For the first time in 3 years, my decisions were going to be mine alone. What Natalia didn't know was that this was just the beginning, because during those 3 years I'd been much more than just her boyfriend. I'd been her financial support, her guarantor on contracts, her professional reference, and in the next few hours, she was going to find out exactly what it meant to lose all of that in one fell swoop. As I drove back to my apartment, I was already planning my next moves. This revenge was going to be methodical, legal, and absolutely devastating. I got to my apartment around 10 p.m. It was a small but comfortable place, a studio I'd kept even after starting my relationship with Natalia. She'd always insisted I move in with her, but something inside me, some survival instinct I was now grateful for, had made me keep my own space. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. 53 messages from Natalia in the last 2 hours. I read them all without replying to any. Diego, please, answer. You're exaggerating everything. We were just talking as friends. I swear. You can't just cancel everything like that. I'm going to be homeless because of you. You're selfish. I hate you. Please, forgive me. Can we work this out? Diego, answer. I poured myself a whiskey and sat down in front of my computer. It was time to make a complete list of everything I needed to undo. 3 years with someone leaves a lot of threads to cut, especially when that person has become financially dependent on you. I opened a spreadsheet and started writing cancellation to-dos. Monthly rent transfer, $700, already canceled. Additional credit card limit of $3,000, already canceled. Car insurance in my name, $220 monthly. Guarantor on apartment lease. Gym membership I pay for $80 monthly. Shared Netflix, Spotify accounts, unpaid loans. Master's degree, registration, and 2 semesters. $8,500 family emergency. Supposed operation for her mother. $2,000 repair of her previous car. $1,200 credit card debts I paid off. $4,800 trip to Cancun to save our relationship. $3,200. Various small loans, approximately $2,300. Total loaned and never returned. $22,000. HBO $35 monthly. Family phone plan where I included her. $45 monthly. Total monthly sum Natalia was going to stop receiving $1,080. But there was more, much more. I opened my bank records from the last 3 years. Every loan, every emergency, every I'll pay you next month, that never came. $22,000 in 3 years. Money that would have allowed me to buy a new car, make a down payment on a house, or just have decent savings. Instead, I'd invested it in someone who couldn't even show me her phone when I asked for a simple act of transparency. My cell phone rang. It was a video call from Natalia. I declined it. She immediately called again. I declined again. On the third try, I answered. Her face appeared on the screen, eyes swollen from crying. Makeup smudged. She was in her bed, the same bed where we'd slept together hundreds of nights. Diego, thank God, we need to talk. She started immediately. There's nothing to talk about, Natalia. Please, listen to me. I know I really messed up, I know, but you can't just destroy my life like this. Destroy your life. I almost laughed. Natalia, the only thing I did was stop paying for your things. If that destroys your life, maybe you should think about who was holding it up. It's different. You know I'm in a difficult financial situation. I depend on your help. You depended. I corrected, past tense. And maybe you should have thought about that before risking our relationship to secretly chat with your ex. We were just talking. I swear we were just talking. Her voice was desperate. Now nothing physical ever happened. We never met. It was just messages. Then show them to me. Silence. That damn silence that said it all. I can't, she whispered finally. Why not? Because she bit her lip, tears falling faster. Because I know what they'd look like. I know you'd misinterpret everything, Natalia. If there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to misinterpret. My voice was calm, almost clinical. The fact that you can't show me those conversations tells me exactly everything I need to know about their content. Diego, please. She was sobbing. Now I can't pay the rent alone. They're going to kick me out. And the car. I need the car to get to work. You should call Sebastian. I'm sure he can help you. After all, according to your last words before I left, he's a better man than me. Her expression changed. From crying, it went to a mix of rage and disbelief. Seriously, you're going to be so childish as to hold on to something I said in the heat of the moment? Childish is lying for months. Childish is hiding conversations. Childish is attacking your partner when they ask for honesty. I leaned closer to the camera. I'm just being consistent. You'll regret this, she said, her voice taking on a threatening tone. When you realize the mistake you're making, it's going to be too late. Maybe, but it'll be my mistake, not a betrayal from someone I trusted. I hung up before she could respond and blocked her number. Immediately, messages started coming from unknown numbers. She was probably using friends' phones. I ignored them all. The next morning I woke up with a mental clarity I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. It was like I'd been carrying an invisible weight and had finally let it go. The first thing I did was call the insurance company. Good morning. I'm calling to cancel a car insurance policy. After verifying my identity and providing the details, the representative informed me, Mr. Torres, the policy is valid until the end of the month. Do you wish to cancel it from then on? Yes, please. And I need the vehicle to be returned before that date or it won't be covered. Understood? We'll send a notification to the registered email. Next call. The landlord. Don Roberto. This is Diego Torres. Natalia Mendez, guarantor for apartment 305. Ah, yes, Diego. What can I do for you? I need you to remove me as a guarantor from the contract. Miss Mendez and I have ended our relationship and I can no longer be responsible for that contract. There was a pause. I understand. That means I'll need her to get a new guarantor or pay an additional deposit of 2 months' rent. Is she aware of this? She will be soon. Very well. I'll give her 30 days to resolve the situation or I'll have to terminate the contract. 30 days. Natalia had 30 days to find $2,400 for an additional deposit or get a new guarantor with a good credit history. Considering I knew her financial situation perfectly, I knew neither option was viable. My phone started ringing. Unknown number. I answered. Diego. It was the voice of Carmen, Natalia's best friend. What the hell is wrong with you? How can you be so cruel? Good morning, Carmen. Don't give me that good morning crap. Natalia is devastated. She's been crying since yesterday. She says you canceled everything and you're going to make her homeless. I suppose she told you her version of the story. She told me you caught her talking to a friend and you went crazy with jealousy, that you're punishing her for having a social life. I laughed humorlessly. Did she tell you that friend is her ex-boyfriend? Did she tell you she hid from me for months that they were talking? Did she tell you that when I asked to see the conversations to clear things up, she flatly refused silence on the other end? Did she tell you, I continued, that when I asked who she was talking to, she told me it was none of my business and that if I didn't like it the door was right there? Did she mention that part to you? Well, she was upset. She was upset because she got caught, not because she cared about hurting me. I sighed. Look, Carmen, I have nothing against you, but this conversation is between Natalia and me, or rather there's no conversation anymore. It's over, Diego. She needs you. She has no way. She has Sebastian. I interrupted. Her friend, I'm sure he can help her with all those needs. I hung up and blocked that number too. The rest of the morning I spent making more calls. Gym canceled, streaming services canceled, family phone plan modified to remove her. Each cancellation was like removing a thread from a spider web, and with each thread I cut, I realized how big that web had been, how much of my life had been entangled with someone who didn't value the sacrifice. Around noon, I received an email. It was from Natalia from her personal account. Diego, since you won't answer my calls or messages, I hope you'll at least read this. I know I made a mistake by not telling you about Sebastian. I should have been honest from the beginning, but you need to understand that literally nothing happened. We were just talking. He was going through a tough time, and I was supporting him as a friend. I don't deserve for you to destroy my life over this. I've depended on your help because you offered to help me. I never forced you into anything. You decided to pay for things. You decided to lend me money, and now you're punishing me for something that isn't even real infidelity. Please, reconsider. 3 years together means something. Don't throw everything away over a tantrum. I still love you. Natalia. I reread the email 3 times. There wasn't a single real apology. There was no acknowledgement of the damage done, only justifications, minimization of her actions, and an attempt to make me feel guilty for withdrawing my financial support. The phrase, something that isn't even real infidelity, made me clench my jaw. So kissing or sleeping with someone was the only standard of betrayal for her. Emotional infidelity, lies, deceit, none of that counted. I replied briefly. Natalia, If nothing really happened and you were just friends, there would be no problem in showing me those conversations. Your continued refusal to do so says more than any explanation. About the money I offered it to my partner, someone I trusted. That person ceased to exist yesterday. I'm not punishing you. I'm just stopping funding a life that doesn't really include me anymore. Don't contact me again, Diego. I hit send and closed my laptop. My phone buzzed with a message from my brother Andres. Hey, is it true you broke up with Natalia? Her cousin just messaged me asking if I knew anything. It's true, long story. Want to talk about it? We can go out tonight. I could use that. That night, in a bar near my apartment, I told Andres everything. My younger brother, 25, had always been more intuitive than me with people. Bro, he said after hearing the whole story. I'm going to be honest with you. I never liked Natalia. I was surprised. Never. I always felt like she saw you as an ATM. The way she talked about you to other people was always about what you did for her, never about who you were. He took a sip of his beer. Mom couldn't stand her either, but she didn't want to say anything to you because you seemed happy. Mom too. This was new to me. She said Natalia never asked about the family. She only showed up when there was free food or when she needed something. Andres looked at me seriously. Look, I know it hurts now, but you did the right thing. That kind of person doesn't change. If you'd forgiven her, she would have only learned that she can do whatever she wants without consequences. He was right. If I'd given in, if I'd accepted her vague excuses and her refusal to explain, I would have only set a precedent that my dignity was negotiable. So now what? Andres asked. Now I focus on me. I've already wasted enough time and money on someone who didn't value it. We clinked our beers, but the night was just beginning because at that moment my phone vibrated with a message from a number I hadn't blocked. Sebastian, dude, I think you and I need to talk about Natalia. I looked at my phone screen as if it were a bomb about to explode. Sebastian, the ex-boyfriend, the friend, the man for whom Natalia had risked our 3-year relationship was contacting me directly. What the hell? I muttered. Andres leaned over to see. Is that the ex? I nodded, unable to believe what I was seeing. The message was still there blinking on my screen. Dude, I think you and I need to talk about Natalia. Reply to him, Andres said immediately. You need to know what he wants. With fingers trembling from adrenaline I wrote. Who are you and how did you get my number? The reply came in seconds. I'm Sebastian Rivas, Natalia's ex. She gave me your number months ago. Look, I know this sounds weird, but I really need to talk to you. Can we meet? There are things you need to know. Andres whistled softly. This is getting more and more interesting. I'm not meeting with him, I said immediately. It's probably a trap from Natalia. Oh, come on, my brother countered. Maybe the guy has information you need. Think about it. Why would he contact you? If they were together, he'd have no reason to look for you. He had a point. I wrote, why do you want to talk to me? Because Natalia has been lying to me too. And I think we both deserve to know the whole truth. Give me an hour of your time, public coffee shop, wherever you want. If after that you decide not to talk to me again, I'll respect that. I looked at Andres, who nodded. Do it, but I'm going with you. 30 minutes later, we were at a Starbucks downtown. We'd arrived first, choosing a table near the exit and with a full view of the place. I didn't know what to expect from this meeting, but I wasn't going to take any chances. Sebastian walked in exactly at the agreed time. He was taller than I'd imagined. Athletic build, well-dressed. Nothing like the toxic mistake Natalia had always described. He saw us immediately and walked towards our table. Diego, he extended his hand. I shook it cautiously. Sebastian, this is my brother Andres. Thanks for coming, he said, sitting down. He ordered a coffee and waited for it to be brought to him before speaking. He seemed nervous, gathering his thoughts. Look, he began finally. I know this is strange. You probably think I'm the villain in this story, but you need to know something. I didn't know Natalia had a boyfriend until 3 days ago. Andres and I exchanged glances. How? I asked. Natalia and I broke up 2 years ago. It was a toxic relationship, I admit. We were both immature. We broke up badly, not speaking for months. He took a sip of his coffee. 4 months ago, she wrote to me on Instagram. She said she'd matured, that she wanted to apologize for how things ended. We started talking as friends. As friends? I repeated skeptically. Yes, or so I thought. His expression was one of genuine frustration. She told me she was single, focusing on her master's and her job. We talked about everything. Her day, her problems, her plans. Never, not once did she mention she had a partner. And you didn't suspect anything? Andres asked. Why would I suspect? She didn't ask to see me. There was nothing romantic in our conversations. We just chatted like old friends. Sebastian pulled out his phone until 2 days ago when she called me crying, saying her boyfriend had left her and she was going to be homeless. My stomach twisted. She called you? Yes. She told me a whole story about how her controlling and jealous boyfriend had found out she was talking to me and had exploded with jealousy. That he canceled everything for her. That he took away her financial support. That he was leaving her on the street. He looked at me directly. She painted a picture of you as an abusive and possessive man. That son of a Andres started, but I stopped him with a gesture. And you believed her? I asked at first. Yes, she's convincing when she cries. Sebastian sighed. She asked to borrow money from me, $500 to cover this month's rent. She said she'd pay you back when she could, and then she'd pay me back. Of course she did. I told her I didn't have that amount available immediately, but I could help her with $500. We arranged to meet yesterday for me to give it to her. He paused, but before that something bothered me. The story didn't add up. Why would such a controlling man let you have conversations with me for months without knowing? So I did a little digging. He took out his phone and turned it to show us. On the screen were screenshots from Facebook, photos of Natalia and me. Our relationship clearly visible, public, documented over the last 3 years. It wasn't hard to find you on her social media, Sebastian continued. It's full of photos of you two, anniversaries, trips, dinners, all public, nothing hidden. He looked at me with what seemed like an apology. She was lying to me all this time about being single. She lied to both of us. I said, feeling a strange solidarity with this man I'd considered my enemy minutes before. Exactly. So when we met yesterday, I confronted her. I showed her the Facebook screenshots and asked her why she told me she was single. Sebastian shook his head. You know what she said? That you two were technically together, but the relationship had been dead for months. That you were more like a roommate who contributed financially while she decided what to do with her life. Every word was a dagger. A roommate who contributed financially. That's how she saw me. Not as her partner, not as someone she loved, just as a convenient source of income while she kept her options open. Did you give her the money? Andres asked. I told her I wasn't going to be part of her lies, that if she needed money, she had to sort things out with you or her family, but I wasn't going to finance her betrayal. Sebastian leaned back in his chair. She got really angry. She told me I didn't understand, that I was her only option, that her family couldn't help her, and that you were a vindictive asshole. Sounds familiar, I muttered. We ended up fighting. I told her what she was doing was wrong, that emotionally cheating on you while depending on your money was disgusting. She said I had no right to judge her, that we were just friends, and what she did with her love life was none of my business. But you played along for 4 months, Andres pointed out with a certain accusatory tone. Because I didn't know there was someone else, Sebastian replied firmly. If I had known she had a boyfriend, I never would have kept those conversations going, no matter how innocent they were. When we broke up, I promised myself not to be the kind of person who interferes in other people's relationships. He looked at me directly. That's why I'm here. Because you deserve to know the whole truth. What truth? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. Sebastian hesitated, clearly debating how much to reveal. Finally, he sighed and opened his phone again. This is from 2 weeks ago. After you showed me this, I understood you needed to see it. He passed me the phone. It was a WhatsApp conversation between him and Natalia. Natalia. Sebastian, can I ask you something personal, Sebastian? Sure, Natalia. Did you ever think about us? Like what would have happened if we'd matured before breaking up? Sebastian, sometimes, but that was a long time ago. Not Natalia, I know. It's just that sometimes I feel like I made the wrong decisions after you. Sebastian, are you okay, Natalia? Yes, just reflecting. Forget it. I kept reading. There were more conversations like that. Natalia testing the waters, casting emotional hooks, trying to see if there was any chance of rekindling something with Sebastian. And he, not knowing she had a partner, responding with the openness of someone talking to a truly single ex. Is there more? I asked in a tight voice. There's one where she asks if I'm dating anyone, another where she tells me she dreams about me sometimes. Sebastian took his phone back. Nothing explicitly romantic, but it definitely crosses lines you don't cross when you have a partner. Andres whistled softly. She was testing the ground with you while using my brother as a financial backup plan. That's what it looks like, Sebastian agreed. Then he looked at me with some compassion. Look, Diego, I don't know you, but from what I've seen in those Facebook photos, you seem like a good guy. You treated her well, supported her, were there for her. You don't deserve to be used like this. Thanks, I said, feeling strangely grateful to this man. Why are you telling me all this? You could just walk away from all the drama. Because if the positions were reversed, I'd want someone to tell me the truth. He stood up to leave. Oh, and one more thing. Natalia asked me not to contact you. She told me you were violent and vengeful, that you might hurt me if you found out she and I were talking. Obviously, that was another lie to control both of us. After Sebastian left, Andres and I sat in silence for several minutes. Bro, my brother finally said, I know this hurts, but you needed to know this. He was right. It hurts. Every new revelation was like ripping off a bandage covering a deeper wound. Natalia hadn't just emotionally cheated on me. She'd used me as financial support while exploring her romantic options. She'd lied to me. She'd lied about me to other people to manipulate them. She'd created a whole false narrative where I was the villain and she was the victim. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Natalia from another unknown number. Diego, I need to talk to you urgently. Don Roberto gave me 30 days to get a guarantor or $2,400. Please, don't do this. We can fix things. I love you. Forgive me. I looked at the message for a long time. Those words, I love you, that once would have melted my resolve. Now they sounded completely empty. I replied, I just talked to Sebastian. I know everything. The 3 dots indicating she was typing appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, her reply came. What did he tell you? He's lying. He's probably mad because I didn't want to get back with him. Diego, please, don't believe him. He showed me the conversations, Natalia. I know you told him you were single. I know you were testing the possibility of getting back with him. I know you described me as your roommate, who contributes financially. This time the reply took several minutes. It was a mistake. I was confused. I didn't mean any of it. Please, give me another chance. We can go to couples therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. No, Diego, please. I'm going to be homeless. My family can't help me. I have nowhere to go. Something inside me hardened. For 3 years it had been my responsibility to fix her problems. Every time there was a crisis, I showed up with my credit card or my wallet. I'd become her automatic solution for everything. Not my problem, Natalia. It stopped being my problem when you decided I was just your financial backup while you kept your emotional ex on the side. It was never like that. Then explain to me why you told him you were single. Explain the conversations where you asked if he thought about you too. Explain why you called me a roommate who contributes. There was no reply. I thought so. I wrote, don't contact me anymore. Any further necessary communication will be through a lawyer. Lawyer? What do you need a lawyer for? To recover the $22,000 I lent you and you never paid back. This time the reply was immediate. They were gifts. We never signed anything saying they were loans. I have all the messages where you promised to pay them back. Every transfer marked as a loan. Every conversation where you said, I'll pay you next month. All documented. A minute of silence. Then, you're a bastard. You always were. I'm glad I talked to Sebastian. At least he knows how to treat me like a person and not property. I smiled bitterly. There was the real Natalia, coming out when manipulation no longer worked. Good luck, Natalia. I blocked her from all her numbers, all her social media, all messaging apps. I cut the last thread that connected us. The next few days were an emotional roller coaster. There were moments of liberation where I felt lighter than ever and moments of sharp pain where the betrayal hit me again as if it had just happened. But each day was a little easier than the last. On Monday morning, I scheduled an appointment with a lawyer. Felipe Montez had a small firm specializing in civil cases and came recommended by a coworker. Diego, he said after hearing my full story and reviewing all my documentation, you have a solid case to recover the money. Every bank transfer marked as a loan. Every message where she promises to pay you back. Every email where she refers to these amounts as temporary loans. It's compelling evidence. How long would it take? I asked. It depends. If she doesn't answer the lawsuit or doesn't show up in court, we could have a default judgment in 2 or 3 months. If she fights it, it could drag on for 6 months or a year. Felipe leaned back in his chair. But I'm going to be honest with you, Diego. Winning the judgment is one thing, collecting is another. If she doesn't have assets or sufficient income, you could get a judgment that's worth little in practical terms. I don't care about the money, I admitted, surprising myself. I want a legal record of what she did. I want there to be documented consequences. Felipe nodded understandingly. Then let's do it. I'll prepare the lawsuit. We'll need to sue for the $22,000 plus interest and legal costs. That afternoon, as I was leaving the lawyer's office, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. This time I answered, Diego Torres. It was a female voice I didn't know. Yes, who's this? I'm Marcela, Natalia's sister. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. The sister, in 3 years of relationship, I'd seen Marcela maybe 5 times. She lived in another city and wasn't close to Natalia. What can I do for you, Marcela? Look, I know you and my sister broke up. She told me her version, but there are things that don't add up. She sounded uncomfortable. Can I ask you what really happened? For the next 20 minutes, I told her everything. I didn't omit anything. The conversations with Sebastian, the lies, the financial dependence, everything. When I finished, Marcela sighed deeply. God, I knew something like this would happen. What do you mean? Natalia has been like this her whole life. My parents spoiled her, let her get away with everything. When we were growing up, she always found a way to manipulate situations to get what she wanted. She paused. I distanced myself from her years ago because I got tired of her dramas and her lies. That's why you don't see us together. Do your parents know what happened? They know her version, that you're a controlling, jealous guy who left her on the street for talking to a friend. Marcela sounded frustrated. I've already sent them messages telling them your version, but I doubt they'll believe me. Natalia has always been their princess. I understand. Diego, I'm calling you because Natalia asked me to lend her money. $2,400 specifically. She said it was an apartment emergency. Marcela took a deep breath. Is it true you cut off all financial support? It's true, and I had my reasons. I'm not judging you. After what you told me, I understand perfectly. She paused. I just wanted to confirm your version before telling her I'm not lending her a single cent. She already owes me money from years ago that she never paid back. After hanging up with Marcela, I felt strangely validated. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't being cruel or vengeful. I was simply setting boundaries I should have set a long time ago. That night, Andres came by my apartment with pizza and beers. Update from the enemy front, he announced, leaving the boxes on my table. One of Natalia's friends, Lorena, the one who works in my building, approached me today. What did she want? Basically, she tried to convince me to talk to you, so you'd give Natalia another chance. She said she's desperate, has no money for rent, is sleeping on Carmen's couch because she's afraid to be alone in her apartment. How dramatic. Yeah, well, I told her some interesting facts, like how Natalia told Sebastian she was single, how she was testing the waters with him while using you as an ATM. Andres smiled with satisfaction. Lorena had no idea about any of that. She looked genuinely surprised. Natalia's friends only know the edited version of the story. Exactly. That's why I'm doing my part to let them know the full version. My brother winked at me. Information is power, bro. On Wednesday, I received an email from Don Roberto, the landlord. Diego, I'm writing to inform you that Natalia Mendez has not been able to secure a new guarantor or provide the required additional deposit. Therefore, the contract will be terminated effective at the end of this month. I also want to thank you for being a responsible guarantor during this time. I never had any problems with payments while you were involved. I wish you the best. Roberto Sandoval. The end of the month was in 10 days. 10 days for Natalia to find a new place to live, pack all her things, and move out. Without money, without her own car, because the insurance had already been canceled, without a financial support network. A part of me, a very small part, felt bad, but then I remembered her words. So what? What are you going to do? Break up with me? The arrogance with which she assumed I would tolerate anything, that my dignity was so cheap that I would swallow everything to maintain the relationship. Friday night, I was at home reviewing my finances when there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and my stomach twisted. It was Natalia. She was standing in front of my door, alone, her eyes swollen and red. She was wearing one of my old sweatshirts, the one she always said was the most comfortable to sleep in. She knocked again. Diego, I know you're there. I saw your car in the parking lot. Please, just let me talk to you for 5 minutes. I didn't open. Instead, I took out my phone and started recording in case she tried anything. Diego, please. Her voice broke. Just 5 minutes. That's all I ask. Any communication must be through lawyers, I said loudly, clear enough for her to hear me through the door. I don't have money for a lawyer. Diego, please, I'm desperate. She started to really cry now. Sobs that would have once shattered me. They're kicking me out of the apartment in 9 days. I have nowhere to go. My family won't help me. Carmen is letting me stay on her couch, but only until the end of the month. Not my problem. Of course it's your problem. You left me with nothing. 3 years together, and you abandoned me like I'm trash. She pounded the door with her fist. At least give me a chance to explain. You already had that chance. I asked you to show me the conversations with Sebastian, and you refused because I knew you'd misinterpret them like what's happening now. Her voice got louder. Sebastian means nothing to me. He's just a friend. You're the one I love. If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied to me for months. Everyone makes mistakes, Diego. But you act like you're perfect, like you've never done anything wrong. She was screaming now. You used me. You made me financially dependent on you so you could control me. There was the revised narrative. Now I was the manipulator who had made her dependent to control her. Not her, the person who had asked for help after help without ever giving anything back. Natalia, leave. If you don't leave, I'm going to call security. You're a monster. A heartless fucking monster. She hit the door harder. I hope you're proud of yourself leaving a woman on the street. My life is destroyed because of you. I called building security. Hello, there's someone banging on my door and screaming. Apartment 512, I need someone to come, please. I heard when the security guard arrived and asked Natalia to leave. That's my boyfriend. I have a right to talk to him. Ma'am, the tenant has asked you to leave. If you don't leave voluntarily, I'll have to call the police. There were more screams, more accusations, but eventually I heard her footsteps walking away down the hall. The guard knocked on my door. Mr. Torres, she's gone. Are you okay? I opened the door. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for the disturbance. Don't worry about it. Is that your ex-girlfriend? Yes. The guard, an older man named Ernesto, nodded sympathetically. If she comes back, call me immediately. I'll put a note that she shouldn't have access to the building. I couldn't sleep that night. The images of Natalia crying in front of my door replayed in my mind. There was a little voice telling me that maybe I was being too harsh, that maybe I should at least help her find a place to stay. But then I remembered something Sebastian had said. Nothing explicitly romantic, but it definitely crosses lines you don't cross when you have a partner. I remembered the $22,000 she never paid me back. I remembered her arrogance when I caught her. So what? What are you going to do? I remembered her describing me as a roommate who contributes financially. No, I wasn't being too harsh. I was being fair. On Saturday morning, my phone exploded with messages. Carmen, Natalia's friend, had created a WhatsApp group with several mutual people and had added me. The messages were a litany of accusations. Carmen, Diego, what you're doing to Natalia is inhumane. Lorena, how can you sleep at night knowing you left her with nothing? Patricia, 3 years of relationship and you abandon her over a silly thing. You're pathetic, someone else. My boyfriend would never do something like this to me. Real men support their women. I read all the messages without responding. Then, calmly, I opened my files and found the screenshots of my conversations with Sebastian, the bank records of all the loans and the conversations where Natalia promised to pay the money back. I created a PDF document with everything organized chronologically. I titled it The Full Truth. I sent it to the group. This is my only response. After this, I'm leaving the group. Read everything before you judge. And I left the group immediately. 5 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Lorena, Diego, I had no idea. Natalia told us they were just friends, that you were being jealous for no reason. I know. And the money. She never mentioned you'd lent her so much. She said you paid for things because you wanted to, not because she asked you to. I know that too. I'm sorry, really. I shouldn't have judged you without knowing the whole story. After Lorena, Patricia called. Then another person from the group, all with similar apologies, all surprised by the information they didn't know. Carmen never called. On Sunday, a week before Natalia had to leave the apartment, I received a message from Marcela, her sister. Diego, I just wanted you to know that my parents finally agreed to help Natalia. They're going to pay the deposit for a new apartment, a smaller and cheaper one than the one she has now. She's furious because she says it's a humiliation to move to such an ugly place, but at least she'll have a roof over her head. I'm glad she has somewhere to go, I replied honestly. I also wanted to tell you that I showed my parents the evidence you shared. At first, they didn't believe me, but when they saw the messages with Sebastian and the records of all the loans she never paid, Marcella paused. Let's just say they're finally seeing their daughter for who she really is. It's not an easy conversation in my house. On Monday, I received the formal complaint from my lawyer, ready to be filed. $22,000 plus interest calculated at 6% annually from each loan date, plus legal costs. The total was almost $26,000. Are you sure you want to proceed? Felipe asked. Once we file this, there's no turning back. I thought about the last 3 years, about every lie, every manipulation, every time she made me feel guilty for asking for accountability, about her arrogance when I caught her confronting her. Proceed, I said firmly. The lawsuit was filed on Tuesday. Natalia would have 30 days to respond. That night, as I was lying in bed, I realized something important. For the first time in 3 years, I felt completely free. The notice of the lawsuit reached Natalia exactly 3 days after it was filed. I knew because at 9 a.m. that Friday, my phone started exploding with calls from unknown numbers that I didn't answer, followed by an avalanche of increasingly desperate text messages. You're suing me? Seriously, Diego, this is too much. You already won. You've already ruined my life. Isn't that enough? $26,000. Are you crazy? I don't have that kind of money. Please, drop the lawsuit. I'm begging you. We can reach a settlement out of court. You're a monster, a heartless fucking psychopath. I ignored all the messages. Felipe had specifically instructed me. Don't respond to anything. Any communication can be used in court. Everything has to go through me now. That same day, Felipe received a call from a lawyer claiming to represent Natalia. It turned out to be a cousin of hers who did labor law and had no experience in civil cases, but had agreed to help her out of pity. His client, Felipe told him, has solid documentation of every loan, text messages where Miss Mendez promises to repay the money, bank transfers specifically marked as loans. There isn't much to do here but negotiate a payment plan. Natalia's lawyer tried to argue that the loans were actually gifts, that there was no signed contract, that a romantic relationship implied a certain expectation of financial support without the need for repayment. Felipe demolished every argument with the precision of a surgeon. If they were gifts, why are there multiple messages where she says, I'll pay you back next month? If they weren't loans, why did she herself call them loans in her communications? And regarding the expectations of a relationship, my client supported her for 3 years. She never paid anything back, and on top of that, she was emotionally unfaithful. There's no legal basis for your argument. A week later, while having coffee in my apartment on a Saturday morning, I received the call I'd been unknowingly waiting for. Diego, it was a male voice I didn't recognize. Who's this? I'm Rodrigo Mendez, Natalia's father. I immediately sat up straight. In 3 years I had spoken with Rodrigo maybe 10 times. Always superficial conversations at family gatherings. Mr. Mendez, look, Diego, I'm going to be straight with you. I need you to drop that lawsuit. His voice was harsh, authoritative. It's ridiculous and you know it. You're doing this out of spite. With all due respect, sir, the lawsuit is completely legitimate. Your daughter owes me $22,000 that I lent her during our relationship with the promise of repayment. They were gifts. That's how relationships work. The man supports his woman. Support and loans are two different things. I have documentation for every transaction. I don't care about your documentation, he barked. My daughter is going through a difficult time. She had to move to a horrible apartment in a dangerous area because her mother and I don't have that much money to give her. She lost her car, her friends are judging her, and now you're suing her for an amount you know she can't pay. Maybe she should have thought about the consequences before lying to me for months and having inappropriate conversations with her ex-boyfriend. She did nothing wrong. His voice rose in volume. She was just talking to a friend. You're the one who exaggerated everything because of insecurity, Mr. Mendez. Did Natalia tell you that she told Sebastian she was single, that she was testing if there was a possibility of getting back together with him while living off my financial support, that she described me as her roommate who contributes? Silence on the other end, because if she didn't tell you those details, well, I continued, then you only know her edited version of events. My daughter doesn't lie. Your daughter lied to Sebastian about being single. She lied to me about not having contact with him. She lied to you about why we broke up. Why is it so hard to accept that maybe your princess isn't who you think she is? You're a vengeful son of a bitch. He spat. I hope you feel like a real man ruining a woman's life. I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped financing a life that was built on lies. The difference is important. He hung up without saying goodbye. That afternoon, Andres came by my apartment with news. Remember Sebastian? He asked the ex. Of course. He contacted me on Instagram. Apparently, Natalia has been harassing him since you sued her. She's asking him for money, telling him you're destroying her, that if he doesn't help her, she'll end up on the street. And he told her no, that he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore, that he realized she's a professional manipulator. Andres smiled. He also told me that several people from Natalia's social circle have contacted him asking for his version of events. Apparently, your PDF is circulating more widely than you thought. It wasn't my intention for it to go viral. Maybe not. But people talk, and when there's such clear evidence of manipulation and lies, people want to share it. My brother leaned back on the sofa. Natalia is being socially isolated. Her own friends are keeping their distance. A part of me felt bad, but it was an increasingly smaller part. The betrayal had been real. The lies had been real. The consequences had to be real too. 2 weeks later, Natalia's cousin lawyer called Felipe with a proposal. My client offers to pay $5,000 in 1 year in monthly payments of $417 as a full settlement of the debt. Felipe called me immediately to consult. $5,000 is less than a quarter of what she owes you. Not counting interest or legal costs, he explained. It's an insultingly low offer. Reject it, I said without hesitation. Are you sure? If we go to trial and win, which is almost certain, she could declare bankruptcy or simply not pay. A judgment doesn't guarantee you'll get the money back. I don't care about getting the money back. I admitted, I want there to be a legal record of what she did. I want a court judgment that officially says she owes me $26,000. I want that to affect her credit history. I want real, lasting consequences. Understood. I'll reject the offer. Natalia's response came that same afternoon through hysterical messages from Carmen's number. You rejected my offer? $5,000 isn't enough for you. It's all I have. This isn't about the money. This is pure revenge. I hope you're happy ruining my life. You're going to destroy my credit. I'll never be able to buy a house or a car. Exactly. Those were precisely the consequences her betrayal deserved. The trial was scheduled for 6 weeks later. In that time, Natalia made 3 more attempts to contact me. Once she showed up at my work and security escorted her out. Another time she waited for me in my building's parking lot until I called the police, and finally, she sent a 10-page handwritten letter that I never read completely because it started with I know you think I'm the monster in this story, but I also learned through the inevitable gossip network that her life had changed drastically. The new apartment where she lived was indeed small and in a less desirable area. She had had to sell most of her designer things to pay for basic expenses. Her marketing job barely allowed her to survive now that she didn't have my financial support. She had started using public transport because she couldn't afford a car. She looks terrible, Lorena commented one day when I ran into her at the supermarket. She's always stressed, always complaining about money. Carmen says she's unbearable to live with because she curses your name all day. I imagine. Don't you feel even a little bit guilty? I looked at her directly. Would you feel guilty for stopping financing someone who betrayed you and lied to you for months? Lorena looked away. I guess not. The day of the trial arrived on a rainy Tuesday in October. I showed up at the civil court with Felipe, both dressed formally, with 3 binders full of chronologically organized evidence. Natalia arrived 15 minutes late with her cousin lawyer, who looked nervous and disorganized. She was wearing a conservative black dress and flat shoes, probably the most sober outfit I'd seen her in 3 years. Her hair was tied back in a simple bun, with no apparent makeup. She was clearly trying to look like the vulnerable victim. When our eyes met in the courtroom, I saw something in her expression I hadn't seen before. Real fear. Not the manipulative panic of when I confronted her in her apartment, but genuine terror of the consequences she was about to face. The trial was surprisingly brief. The judge, a man in his 60s with a stern expression, reviewed the evidence presented by both parties. Felipe methodically presented each bank transfer, each text message, each email. The documentation was irrefutable. Natalia's lawyer tried to argue that the loans were implicit gifts in a romantic relationship, that there was no formal contract, that my client had offered the money voluntarily. Counsel, the judge interrupted after 5 minutes. Do you have any evidence to support that these were gifts and not loans? Any message where the plaintiff indicates he did not expect repayment? No, Your Honor, but the context of the relationship, the context I see, the judge cut in, reviewing the documents, is that the defendant requested multiple loans, promised to repay them on each occasion, never did, and also maintained inappropriate communications with a third party while depending on the plaintiff's financial support. He looked directly at Natalia. Miss Mendez, do you have anything to add? Natalia stood up shakily. Your Honor, it's true that Diego lent me money, but I was going through difficult times. He knew my situation, and yes, I was talking to my ex, but only as friends. I did nothing wrong. Did you tell your ex-partner that you had a boyfriend? The judge asked. Natalia hesitated. Not directly, but yes or no, Miss Mendez. No, she admitted in a small voice. Did you promise the plaintiff you would repay the borrowed money? Yes, but did you repay it? No, but it's just that's enough. The judge closed the folder in front of him. The evidence is clear. The defendant received multiple loans from the plaintiff with explicit promises of repayment that she never fulfilled. The fact that they were a couple does not automatically turn loans into gifts, especially when there is documentary evidence of the intention of both parties. My heart was pounding. This was really happening. Therefore, the judge continued, I rule in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant shall pay $22,000 in principal plus $3,400 in calculated interest plus $1,200 in legal costs for a total of $26,600. Natalia let out an audible sob. Payment can be established in a monthly payment plan that the defendant can sustain, but the debt will be recorded in her credit history until it is fully paid off. The judge banged his gavel. Case closed. I walked out of that court with a judicial sentence in my hand, an official document that established, without a doubt, that Natalia owed me $26,600, a permanent record of her financial and emotional betrayal. In the hallway, Natalia tried to approach me, but Felipe stepped in between. My client does not wish to speak with you. Any communication must be through lawyers. Diego, please, she begged with tears streaming down her face. This is going to destroy my life. Is that what you wanted? Complete revenge. I looked at her for the last time. This woman who for 3 years had been the center of my world. This woman whom I had loved, supported, and trusted blindly. I didn't want revenge, Natalia, I said calmly. I wanted justice, and I finally have it. I turned around and walked towards the exit without looking back. 6 months after the court ruling, my life had changed in ways I never imagined possible. The payment plan Natalia agreed to with the court was $350 a month. At that rate, it would take her more than 6 years to pay me back completely. Every month, punctual as a clock, the transfer arrived in my account, not by her will, but because it was a court order and her salary was being garnished directly. I never spent that money. I automatically transferred it to a separate savings account. I didn't want it for myself. I was saving it for a purpose I hadn't fully defined yet, but it had to do with helping other men and women who had been victims of financial manipulation in relationships. My apartment felt bigger. I had now redesigned the space, removing everything that reminded me of Natalia. New furniture, new colors on the walls, a completely different atmosphere. It was my space, mine alone. And for the first time in years, I felt completely comfortable in my own home. Work had also improved. Without the constant stress of the toxic relationship and the endless financial demands, my performance had increased remarkably. I had received a promotion 3 months after the trial with a 20% salary increase. My boss during the evaluation had commented, I don't know what changed in you these last few months, Diego, but whatever it is, keep doing it. Andres had become my constant gym partner. 3 times a week we met at 6 a.m. to work out. The exercise had not only improved my physique, but also my mental health. It was therapeutic in a way I didn't anticipate. You look different, my brother had told me one morning after our workout, lighter, as if someone had removed an invisible weight from your shoulders. He was right. I felt free in a way I hadn't experienced in years. News about Natalia came occasionally, always through third parties. Her life had stabilized into a new normal, much more modest than the one she had led with me. She was still in her small apartment, still using public transport, still working at the same marketing job with a salary that barely covered her basic needs after the monthly garnishment. According to Marcella, who occasionally sent me unsolicited but appreciated updates, Natalia had tried to date a few people, but no relationship flourished. Men with resources stay away when they discover her financial situation and her history. Marcella had written to me a month ago, and those who don't have resources aren't interested in her. She's trapped in a vicious cycle of her own making. I didn't feel satisfaction with that information, nor did I feel pity, just a kind of neutral indifference. Her life was no longer my problem or my responsibility. Sebastian and I had surprisingly become casual friends. We met occasionally for coffee or beer, united by the shared experience of being manipulated by the same person. He had started a serious relationship with a woman named Patricia, a civil engineer who shared his love for mountaineering. It's different, he had told me during our last meeting. With Patricia, everything is transparent. There are no games, no manipulations. It's refreshing. I hadn't started dating anyone yet, not because I wasn't ready, but because I was genuinely enjoying my time alone. I was rediscovering myself, exploring interests I had put aside during my relationship with Natalia. I had started playing guitar again, something I hadn't done since college. I had joined a hiking club and spent weekends exploring mountains near the city. One afternoon in April, exactly 8 months after the trial, I was in a bookstore when I saw her. Natalia was in the self-help section browsing a book titled How to Rebuild Your Life After Losing Everything. She looked different, thinner, with shorter hair, simple clothes that were definitely not designer. There was a sadness in her eyes that was palpable even from a distance. Our gazes met briefly. I saw the exact moment she recognized me. I saw panic, then shame, then something that looked like hopelessness. She quickly put the book back on the shelf and headed for the exit. I didn't stop her. I didn't say anything. I just watched her go. That night, as I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, I reflected on that encounter. I had expected to feel something when I saw her. Anger, satisfaction, sadness, but I had only felt nothing. Complete emotional neutrality. I was free, really completely free. My phone vibrated with a message from a coworker, Valeria, who had been hinting for weeks that we should go out. Still on for the movies this weekend? I looked at the message for a long moment. For months, I had rejected these invitations, not ready to open up to someone new. But now, sitting on my balcony, feeling whole and secure for the first time in years, something had changed. Yes, I replied. Saturday at 7. Perfect. It's a date. A date. The word no longer scared me. The following week, I received an unexpected email. It was from a nonprofit organization that helped victims of financial abuse in relationships. They had read about my case through legal contacts and wanted to know if I would be interested in speaking at one of their events. Many men suffer this type of abuse, but are afraid to talk about it because of the social stigma. The email said, "Your story could help others find the courage to set boundaries and seek justice." I accepted immediately. 2 months later, I was standing in front of an auditorium of 200 people sharing my story. Not just the betrayal and infidelity, but also the lessons I had learned, the importance of maintaining financial independence in relationships, the warning signs of manipulation, the value of setting clear boundaries, and the fundamental right to demand honesty and transparency. When I finished, the ovation was thunderous, but what impacted me most was the line of people that formed afterwards to talk to me. Men and women, some crying, telling me their own stories of financial and emotional manipulation, thanking me for giving them the courage to take action in their own situations. I thought I was crazy for wanting to sue my ex, a man in his 40s told me. Everyone told me to let it go, to move on. But you're right, consequences matter. Justice matters. That night, I drove home feeling that I had finally found the purpose for everything that had happened. My pain had not been in vain. If I could help even one person avoid or escape a similar situation. The date with Valeria turned into a second date, then a third. It was different from everything I had known with Natalia. Valeria was independent, paid her own bills, never asked for loans. Our conversations were honest and direct. There were no games, no manipulation. "I like that you're direct," she told me during our 4th date. "You say exactly what you think and feel. It's refreshing." I learned the hard way that indirect communication only causes problems. "Your ex really did a number on you, didn't she?" "Yes," I admitted. "But she also taught me valuable lessons. She taught me my own worth. She taught me that real love doesn't require sacrificing your dignity. She taught me that it's okay to demand respect and honesty. Valeria smiled. Then I guess I should thank her because those lessons made you the man you are now. A year after the trial, I received an unexpected message. It was from Natalia, from a new number I hadn't blocked. Diego, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to tell you something. I've been in therapy for the last 6 months. Real therapy, not just to feel better, but to understand why I did what I did. My therapist says I have deep issues with dependency and manipulation that come from my childhood. I'm not asking for your forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I finally understand that what I did to you was horrible, that using you was cruel, that lying to you was unforgivable. I don't expect this to change anything between us. I just needed you to know. Thank you for teaching me in the most painful way possible that actions have consequences. I hope you're happy. I really hope so. I read the message several times. Part of me wanted to believe it was genuine. Another part wondered if it was another manipulation. In the end, I decided it didn't matter. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete the message either. 2 years after our breakup, I was having dinner with Valeria at an Italian restaurant when I saw her for the last time. Natalia was at a table across the restaurant with a man I didn't recognize. She looked better than the last time, healthier, more put together. When our eyes met, she nodded briefly. A gesture of acknowledgement with no pretense of interaction. I returned the gesture and turned my attention back to Valeria, who was telling me about her day. Are you okay? She asked, noticing my momentary distraction. Yes, I replied. And it was true. Perfectly fine. That night, as I drove home after dropping Valeria off at her apartment, I reflected on the whole journey. 2 years ago, I had been standing in Natalia's apartment, discovering her betrayal, feeling like my world was collapsing. Now I had a life that was completely mine, a job I was passionate about, healthy finances without the constant drain of supporting someone else, a new relationship built on honesty and mutual respect, peace of mind I hadn't known in years. The consequences I had imposed hadn't been about revenge. They had been about establishing that my dignity, my honesty, my financial effort had value, that I was not willing to be used or manipulated without a response. And in the end, the person who had benefited most from those consequences was not Natalia, but myself, because they had forced me to grow, to set boundaries, to truly value myself. Natalia would probably continue paying the $350 a month for years. Each payment a reminder of what she had lost, not just me, but the financial ease my support had provided her. I would continue transferring that money to the savings account, waiting for the day I had enough to create a legal aid fund for other victims of financial abuse in relationships. We had both learned lessons from this experience. Only mine had made me stronger, while hers had cost her everything. And so it should be, because in real-life actions have consequences, betrayal has a price, and sometimes, just sometimes, justice really prevails. Have you ever been in a situation where your trust was betrayed? How did you handle the consequences? I'd love to read your experience in the comments. And if this story resonated with you in any way, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining me until the end.